Hi, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be taking a look at part one of the eMarketing module, where we're going to talk about list, we're going to talk about marketing assets, and then we're also going to take a look at the email calendar. To begin with, we're going to start with the segmentation builder. A segmentation is a way to query your database in real time so that you're able to market to a very specific group of people. For example, I could build a segment where I'm looking for all leads in the state of California. I can pull that query by looking for CRM type equals lead and mailing state equals California. Again, segmentations are dynamic. Every time you open them, every time you edit them, every time you use them into a campaign, and every time you activate that campaign, we will at that exact moment go into the database, query, and pull anybody who has fallen in or fallen out of those parameters into your segmentation. So you really only have to build segmentations one time. You can see we have a folder organization here. You can add more folders by right-clicking on the all, and it will ask you to build a new folder. You can also modify the properties of a segment, open an existing segment, copy an existing segment, or delete a segment. We're going to build a very basic segmentation just so you can get a feel for how the properties work. When creating a segmentation name, you always want to make it something unique so that you're able to find it later on when you are going through and adding your segmentation to your campaigns. I'm going to go ahead and give it today's date and just put training. And you can put a more in-depth description as to what this segmentation is about, but I'm simply going to copy and paste that right in. Click on Save, and it takes me into the segmentation properties. Now I can go ahead and begin adding my filters. So to create a filter, over on the right-hand side, I'm going to select New. It's then going to ask you what fields are you wanting to filter based on. Now there are 4 tables that we're going to be pulling fields from. We're going to be pulling it from the Accounts table, and you can see it's prefixed by Accounts. If I scroll down, you're going to see that that prefix changes to Contacts. And when we say Contacts, we're referring to both the Contact table and the Lead table. If you have a field on your Lead table called Lead Status, it will still be prefixed by Contacts. We use it more as a generic term. And then if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see we also have some Web Activity Detail fields, which are pulling from the Web Forensics tab. If you are using an integrated CRM, Microsoft CRM, SalesLogic, Salesforce.com, whatever it may be, we will pull down fields from the root, account, contact, and lead tables, including custom fields. So you would also see those fields here. There's a special field in our system called CRM type. Now, most CRM systems have contacts and they have leads, and they have a very special purpose in the CRM systems. When we pull those data down into our system, basically what we do is we throw it all into the same area. But we still are able to tell if it's a lead or a contact based on this field called CRM type. When we pull a contact down from your CRM system, we will have the value for CRM type be a contact. If it's a lead, obviously CRM type would be lead. Now by default, if I were to add a filter, let's go ahead and do mailing state. You can choose a Boolean operator. We have lots of options here. And then, of course, we have our possible values. When I hit save, it's going to give me a number. And this number, 293, is including both contacts and leads. You don't have to build a segmentation for contacts and a segmentation for leads. By default, we throw them all in there together. However, let's say that you only wanted leads. Then in that case, you would use our special field, that's CRM type. Choose your Boolean operator again, and you would choose your value and save. You can see it dropped it down to 256. So what this number is telling me is that there are 256 records in our system where mailing state equals California and CRM type equals lead. You can also change the logic to OR things together. So I could instead say I'm looking for all records where the CRM type equals lead and the mailing state equals California, or the mailing state equals Colorado. Note that this number down here automatically does not include records where there is no email address, where they are unsubscribed, or where they are undeliverable. So it's a pretty accurate number. You can also use the preview contacts to be able to see a preview of the top 1,000 records it's pulling to spot check and make sure that these are the correct records. When you're done creating your segmentation, you simply hit Return to Segmentation Selection, and you'll be taken back out. Next, we're going to take a look at distribution list. A distribution list is a static list, meaning that it does not change unless you manually add or manually take away from it. Whereas segmentations, again, are dynamic. It's constantly querying against the database. Distribution lists are commonly created when somebody imports a list into the Sales Fusion system. Every time you import a list, it automatically creates a distribution list. Distribution lists are also commonly created by the syncing of external lists from a CRM system. What I mean by that is, let's take Microsoft CRM, for example. There is something in Microsoft CRM called a marketing list, and we will pull those marketing lists down from Microsoft into Sales Fusion as a distribution list. In Salesforce.com, they're called campaign member lists. We'll pull those down into Sales Fusion as a distribution list. In SalesLogix, they're called ad hoc groups, and so on and so forth. Please note that when we are syncing with an external CRM, it is a one-way relationship with regards to the distribution list. What I mean by that is, if you make a change to that list inside of your CRM, we will update that change inside of Sales Fusion. If you make that change to the list inside of Sales Fusion, we do not update that list inside of your CRM. It is a one-way relationship when you're dealing with the distribution list. Let's go ahead and walk through how to import a list, and you can access the importing from coming here and clicking on Import Data, or you can come over to the Administration tab, 360 Admin, and on the right-hand column under Contacts and Leads, you're going to see Import Data CSV or Import Data Excel Spreadsheet. Please note that the user does need to have admin rights to be able to import, so if they cannot see this admin tab, they cannot import. So step-by-step process when you are importing. Your first step is to run through these options. If the first row on your file is the column headers, then you would check this one here. So if it's first name, last name, email, etc., you would check that box. If you have uploaded the same exact file name before, you would need to check the first one, which is telling the system to overwrite this file with the new file. And then the third option is to overwrite the record if the record already exists. So if jamie.whited@salesfusion.com is on your file, but I already exist inside of your CRM, do you want the data from the file to overwrite the data that currently exists in the system? If so, you need to check this third option here. Under step 2, you're going to browse for your file. So I'm going to find my file, which is a CSV, and then I'm going to click on Upload File. You're going to see in red it says File Upload Complete. Please note that you are not done at this moment. You have to continue going down the steps. Under step 3, you're going to choose your key column. How do you want the system to deduplicate by? Most commonly, it's from email. If that same exact email address exists, then we will not create a new record. We will simply append the data to the existing record. There may be a time where your list doesn't have email addresses, and in that case, you may want to do first name, last name, and account name. You do need to map to all 3, and if any of the 3 differ, we will create a new record. And then, of course, you can also choose to allow duplicates. There's not a whole lot of people that do, but you may come across a situation where you want duplicates to exist. For our purpose, I'm going to go ahead and leave it as email, and I'm going to go ahead and come down to step 4. And step 4 actually correlates with step 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at step 5 in my preview, and I'm going to go from left to right, and I'm going to start telling the system where are these values going to be mapped inside of the CRM. Obviously, my first column here is my email address, so I would find the field email and move it over. My next column is obviously first name, so I'm going to find the first name value and move it over. And you can see as I'm telling the system where to map these that it's populating the column name here. So let's find last name and move it over. Obviously, this is account name, and then we'll just do this one to description. Please note that if you are using an external CRM, you do need to make sure that you are mapping to fields that exist inside of your CRM. If description is not a field that doesn't exist inside of your system, then you cannot map to it. If you need to create a custom field, you create it inside of your CRM environment, and we'll pull it down into our system. We also do not have a way to skip columns. So let's say that this account name column I wanted to be taken out. I didn't need it mapped. I need to remove that column before I upload the file in the system and start mapping. Under step 6, you can either manually enter a distribution list name, so I can call this my testing, or I can add to an existing distribution list name. So I do have a test one in here, so I'm going to add it to Jamie testing, and then I submit for processing. The process is put on the back-end server, and we notify you when the processing is complete. Please set your expectations that if you have a list of 5 people, it will take just a moment. If you have a list of 500,000 people, it's going to take a little bit longer. So please set your expectations to whatever number you have on your spreadsheet. Going back to the marketing dashboard, if we go back to the distribution list, again, these are static. They do not change unless you manually add or manually take away. If I were to open up one of these, let me open up a test one. You can see a list of everybody who belongs on this distribution list. You can see the total number down in the bottom right. And then, of course, I can run a search based on email. I can also look at just the distribution list, emails. I can switch over to the contact information view, which will also show first name, last name, and title. And then I can also switch over to the account and contact information, which shows email, first name, last name, title, and account name. So definitely some options for you. You can also choose to export to Excel and manually remove emails. Down here, I could add additional emails simply by typing in the email address and clicking on Add Emails. I can also add to the list from other sources. When I click on this, I get 4 additional sources. I can pull from other distribution lists. I can turn a segmentation into a distribution list. And then I can choose from the recipients of a previous campaign. So lots of options there for you. As you start to send to distribution lists, people may unsubscribe. They may have hard bounces. And in that case, we won't send to them again automatically. However, you will still see them on this list. So in order to remove unsubscribes and undeliverables from this list, you would simply click on Clean. This will tell the system, go through this list and remove anybody who is unsubscribed or anybody who is hard bounced and clean it up a little bit. Obviously, we have a lot of lists. We have 425, so I don't need to do this one by one manually to clean. I can scroll down to the bottom, and I can click on Clean All List, and it will clean all 425 lists that I have. Okay? To give permission for us to sync external lists from your CRM, you would need to go to Administration, 360 Admin, and then you would choose the appropriate CRM system that you are using. If you're using SalesLogix, and I apologize, my system's taking just a moment. If you use SalesLogix, then you would obviously click on SalesLogix. If you're using Microsoft, you'd click on Microsoft. And within that screen that it takes you to, you will see the option for us to be able to pull your list down. Okay? Next, let's take a look at the template. So a template is great to create inside of the system because it allows you to keep your HTML clean. If you've ever worked with HTML before, you know that if you overuse it or you keep correcting or updating the same HTML over and over again, eventually you're going to start to lose some style tags and you're going to have some formatting issues. So by creating a template, you can create a clean looking template and always pull it down into your email campaign designer and modify it there. Again, we have the folder system where you can right-click and you can click on the Create New Folder. We also have a template library, and inside the template library there are over 750 different templates that you can choose from. The dialog templates will be talked about in the dialogues class. We also have mobile-specific templates that you can see are customized for mobile devices. And then we have the Sales Fusion templates in the template zones. These are all completely free of charge. We highly recommend that you use them if you're not comfortable with HTML. You can see that it gives you a format, and you can basically plug and play. It gives you some logo sockets. You can take those out, plug in your own images, you can plug in your own text, but it has the format, the color, the layout, the columns, the tables, the cells, everything already done for you. If it is something that you like, simply click on Select, and you'll see that it will say, Template has been saved successfully. You can browse through the business invitations. We have catalogs, correspondences, greeting cards, business invitations, many, many different options here for you to choose from. You can also come here and type in a search, which will go through the key templates based on keywords. That's just one way to create some content inside of the system. Obviously, we have many other ways. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find my template real quick. And this is why unique names are important, so that you're able to find it as you're going through the system. We obviously have a lot of different templates. I'm going to open up my training class one. And now it's taking me inside of the template designer. So once you choose a template from the template library, or if you want to create just a template from scratch, then this is where it will take you. You'll create a name, a type, folder that it belongs in, status, and a description. These are all for organization. However, as you just saw, I had to do a search for this particular template, so having some kind of unique value is definitely key. Down here we have our template designer, where you can begin creating from scratch. So if I wanted to, I could start building cells using my design icons here. These are very similar to the icons that you would see in a Microsoft Word document. You can also import an HTML or HTML file by using our template manager, which is this icon here. Lately, we've had a lot of people trying to use OTF files, or Outlook template files. Please note that those are not true HTML files and cannot be used inside of our designer. They need to be converted into an HTML or HTML file. If you are familiar with HTML, you can scroll down and click on HTML and be able to modify the information right here. Oops. If I wanted to make my background black, I can modify the code, switch back over, and now my background has been turned to black. We also have other people who are coming off of different marketing automation solutions. And in that case, if you have existing templates, you can copy the source code and paste it right into a designer here and create your templates in our system. We also have our image manager here, which will allow you to upload images. You can, again, create your own folders for organization, and then simply click on Upload, and you get to see the different file formats that are acceptable in our system. We also allow zip files, so if you have 50 images and you don't want to sit here and do it one by one, by all means, put them into a zip file and upload those all together. If I scroll down a little bit more, I have another option which is called our Slurp. And it's a little odd, but it's a very, very robust feature. What this does is if you put in any URL here, it will actually go out to that URL and it will slurp up as much HTML as it possibly can. Now I tell people to kind of beware of this feature because you do need to know HTML to use it properly. In addition to getting the HTML, occasionally we also bring across some JavaScript depending on where it's located. And in that case, you need to be comfortable going into the raw HTML and removing that JavaScript and being able to identify it. If you cannot do that, I would not recommend using the Slurp feature. I will actually show you an example of how the Slurp works before we leave this template designer area. And then lastly, you can also import an HTML or HTML file from here. or you can copy from an existing campaign. If I scroll up, let's take a look at our next option, which is basic text. You always want to convert your HTML into basic text for a couple of reasons. The first reason is not everybody supports HTML still. You have some companies who have very strict email policies, and all they allow people to receive is basic text. If you don't convert to basic text, then if the person is in your recipient list, we try to send the HTML to them, it simply will just not get delivered. You want to be able to have the system go, oh, okay, they don't take HTML, but they take basic text, and turn around and deliver this version instead. All you have to do is click on Convert HTML to Text. I usually do this last once I'm completely done with my HTML. And then if you want to, you may want to clean up some spaces if you want to make it look nice and pretty. There's a second reason that you need to convert to text, and this is especially important if you are using an external CRM, Salesforce, Microsoft, Sage, SalesLogic, Sugar, whatever it may be. We only push the basic text into your CRM system when we're logging that an email was sent, that an email was opened, or that an email was clicked. If we don't have that text version, we cannot push anything in, so nothing gets pushed in. So if you are using external CRM, it is vitally important that when you're done with your HTML, you always quickly convert the HTML to basic text. Taking a look at testing, there are many different ways to do some testing. Obviously, you can put in your own test subject line. I usually leave it blank, and it simply appends the word test in front of it. You can also, you can see it's populated with my email address, and it's also populated with client services email address. By default, you will just see yours. However, if you commonly send tests to additional people, you can set it up inside of your user preferences, which is under Toolbox and Preferences, to automatically have the system pre-populate with more than just your email address. We have two types of testing. We have a send test with encoding, and we have a send test without encoding. So what is the difference between these two? By default, when you send a test with encoding, what we do is we encode every single link for that particular recipient, so that when they engage with any of the links from your campaign, we're going to automatically cookie them. And we're going to leave that cookie on there until they delete it, or until they delete it. That's pretty much it. If you send a test without encoding, we are obviously not going to encode the links, which means we are not going to add that extra script, and the person would not be cookied. Another big difference between these two is we also, when we're doing our encoding process, if there are any personalization tags that are being used, when you send a test with encoding, we will reference that recipient's record and populate with the personalized merge tags. What I'm talking about with that is like your first name tag, your last name tag. If you want it to dynamically populate, then you need to test it with encoding. If you send it without encoding, it will simply show the tag itself and not dynamically reference the record. And we'll talk more about merge tags in just a moment. The reason I'm explaining the difference between these two is, let's say that I send Will a test with encoding, and Will turns around and manually forwards it to 5 other people. Well, that opens the door for cross cookies, because that encoded email is specifically for Will. When he turns around, he forwards it to 5 other people, and those people click on those links. Those people are now cross-cookied as Will. So it's very important that when you're testing, if you need to send it to multiple people, you separate their email addresses with a semicolon, or if you're planning on manually forwarding it, then you send a test without encoding. We also have a function called Spam Assassin, which is one of the many spam tools out there. It will go through your HTML as well as your text, and it will tell you if it's rendering as spam. All you have to do is click on this link. It's going to go through. You can see that it's processing right now. And it's going to tell me if it's rendering. Now, we have a threshold of 6.3. If it is over 6.3, we will automatically not send your campaign. That is too high of a risk factor for us. You can see here that it's telling me that my score is 2.4. I can read about the rule here about why I've gotten that score, and it's telling me that my message is HTML without HTML content type. This may not make much sense to the common marketer. So what you can do is you can click here for more information on Spam Assassin. Or a little tip that I have found is I can take the rule name, I can Google it, and there's usually a techie out there who can help me decipher what this particular spam rule means. If we hop over to the merge fields, this is where you can personalize your email. This is where you get all the data from. Now the first sub-tab here is called Common, and this is where you're going to get some of the common tags that you see in almost every single email that I'm sure you get on a daily basis. The View HTML is a web page. I know that sometimes it may be at the very top and it may say having trouble viewing, click here to view as a web page. We have standard tags and we have custom tags, and I'm going to walk through examples in my HTML. But a standard tag renders standard text that cannot be changed. So pretty much all I would do is I would take this tag, I would come over to my HTML, and I would plop it right in here like I did. When this email is encoded and sent out, it will say, having trouble viewing this email, click here to view as a web page. That's exactly what it's going to say. If you don't like that verbiage, then you can come and you can use our custom one. This looks like a funny URL, but I promise you it actually works. When I copy that, instead of having this tag here, I can instead say, click here. I then take that text and I'm going to hyperlink it, just like that, and hit OK. Now I get to have my own custom sound of how I want this to appear, rather than having some standard text appear. We also have a standard and a custom for forward to a friend, where I can say, click here to forward to a friend. Or again, I can just take the tag and plop the tag right onto my HTML, and it will render its own standard text. You can see in my HTML here that I used a custom one saying, know someone else who would be interested in attending, click here to forward to a friend. We also have the same thing for unsubscribed. We have a standard unsubscribe tag, which you can simply plop in just like this, or I can use a custom one such as you see here. I'm a huge fan of using the custom ones because it allows you to make it look and feel the way that you want it to. It also allows you to have it designed and flow with the rest of your design content. Back over on merge fields, you can again see here's my standard tag and here's my custom tag. Custom tags will always be prefixed by the HTTP. You can see that there, you can see it in that one, and you can also see it in that one. Next sub-tab, is the database fields. Now, this is where it's actually pulling data from the recipient's record and populating it in the email. This is where you can grab data from the account table. You can grab data from the contact lead table. So if I wanted first name, I would find my first name field. It's going to populate it over to the right-hand side, and I would simply copy it from here and paste it into my HTML. So if I were to copy that, hop over to my HTML, I can plug it in wherever I see fit. So if I want it right here, then it would say Sales Fusion cordially invites, and if it's going to me, it would populate with Jamie to our annual golf outing. If it's Jason, it would say Sales Fusion cordially invites Jason to our annual golf outing. So it dynamically changes based on the value that's in the recipient's record. Please note that if there is no value inside the recipient's record, it will be blank. So you do have to make sure it makes sense with or without a value. At this time, we don't have a way to have a default value. You can also use the owner field to dynamically change the signature, for example. If you wanted to say from and have it dynamically change based on who owns the record, these are the fields that you would use. You'd use the person's email, their first name, their last name, their job title, maybe their phone number, and their LinkedIn profile. If I send an email to Jason and I'm the owner of Jason's record, it would say, sincerely, Jamie Whited, VP of Client Services, here's my phone number, etc., etc. If Will sends an email and Susie Q is the owner of the record, then it would say from Susie Q at person@company.com, etc., etc. So one email being able to dynamically change based on who owns it. The task and the event are here, but these are applicable to the lead analyzer. So these don't do anything at this time for email campaigns. Our next area has to be one of my favorite, and it's called the social merge tags. Basically what these do is these tell people to share it on their social media site. These are not used to say, click here to follow me on Twitter, or click here to access my Facebook page. When you use these tags, and you can use Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or you can use our social bundle, which also has Dig and Stumble Upon. When you use these, when the recipient receives the email, it will say, something like, click here to share on your social network. They click on that link, it opens up their social media page, not yours, and it allows them to post a link to your campaign that they just received. Essentially, this is free advertising. You're giving somebody the ability to post it on their social media, giving you access to their friends, their followers, their connections. When somebody engages with that link, we cannot give you their email address, but we'll give you all of the cookie information that we can, location, user agent, all of that great information. We'll be able to tell you how long they looked at it. And then, of course, if you have a call to action, it will give them that call to action, and then hopefully you can get their email address from that. We also have something called social advocates, which you'll see in the statistics in our class tomorrow, where you can see who has actually shared your email campaign across their social media site. If you send me an email and I post it to my Facebook and 10 people have accessed it from my Facebook, you can see that I was the one that posted it and 10 people touched the one on my page. So great information if you do any kind of referral programs. Our next area over here is called dialogues. And just for clarification and terminology, a dialogue is a form that you can create inside of the Sales Fusion system. It's basically anywhere where you're capturing information. It can be a basic email sign-up form. It can be a survey. It can be register for a webinar, go to our event, come to our lunch and learn, anything that you're asking. That's considered to be a dialogue. Dialogue class is offered on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern. And every dialogue that you create generates a unique URL. With that unique URL, this is just an easy place for you to be able to copy it, hop back over to your HTML, and hyperlink it inside of your campaign. Dialogues are very commonly call to actions because it gives the person something to engage with, as well as a way for you to capture information and cookie them. The last two areas, events are relevant to people who have access to the event management component only. This is where you'd access all of your merge tags. The analytics component is more for the web forensics. It just allows you to customize the keywords, the campaigns, the sources, and the mediums that are coming across inside of your web forensics. And RSS feeds is going to be something that's going to be coming out here soon. This is just, again, another way to dynamically grab the tags that will be called from in the RSS. Okay, let's hop back over to the HTML, and you can see again how I'm using some of these tags. Share on your social media site. I'm using the social bundle. When it renders to you, you're going to see all of those boxes here for LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. What I do want to show you is I want to show you this Slurp and how it works. So I'm going to put in our home page here, and then I'm going to click on Slurp. What it's doing at this moment, it might take just a moment, is it's going to go out to that website, and it's going to slurp up everything it possibly can. So I'm going to come down here, and now you can see our website. This allows you to have a common look and feel similar to your website. It's a very common request that we get from people is, how can I make it look just like my website? You can use the slurp function, but again, you need to be able to come in here and go, oh, yeah, don't need this. Let me take out that information. Okay, let's hit cancel. I don't want to save the changes I just made, but of course, if you did, you'd hit either save or save and return. And let's take a look at our assets next. The assets will be talked about a little bit more in detail when we get into the Campaign Designer tomorrow. What the assets do is it allows you to upload assets. and use them as email attachments inside of an email campaign or a drip campaign or a trigger campaign. You are allowed one asset per email campaign. I'm not a huge fan of having attachments this way, simply because if you think about it, when you add an attachment, everybody's weary of them, so it raises your possibilities of going into spam. And then two, we cannot track true attachments. And what I mean by that is that it's existing outside the body of the email. If that is the case, you don't know if people are actually opening or clicking on that particular asset. However, if you do want to have an attachment in a campaign, you simply click on New and you upload your attachment here. Give it a name, find your file, choose your folder, give a description, and then check this box called Allow Email Attachments. Now, I'm more of a fan of uploading my assets to the Media Manager. Now, Media Manager is obviously the same place where you can upload your images. But in addition to that, you can also upload documents, or PDFs per se. So when I click on my folder, you can see I have a lot of JPEGs. If I keep scrolling, I have some PNGs and some GIFs and such. But if I get down to the bottom, you see I also have some PDFs in here. By having that in here, our system will actually give you a sharing URL. And you can see that when I click on this, it updates the URL down at the bottom. I can then copy this URL and hyperlink it to some text inside the body of my HTML. That, one, increases my possibility of delivery, and two, it also allows me to track who is engaging and how many times did they engage with that particular link, which is great information. Please note that we do have a maximum size limit of 4 megabytes. If it is over 4 megabytes, or if it's in a different file format than it's accepted, we do recommend that you use an outside document hosting site such as Box.net or Google Docs. Those are both free sites where you can get free accounts and be able to upload it. They also provide a sharing URL. And the tracking of who is engaging with links and such, it doesn't matter who hosts it. We encode every single link, whether we're hosting it or Google Docs is hosting it or Box.net is hosting it. So you'll still get the same great information of who is engaging with them. There is, again, a 4 megabyte limit per image, but your overall library, there's not a limit. Your library can be as big or as small as you want it to be. Our next area that we're going to take a look at, and our last area, is the email calendar. Email calendar is just more of a visual tool, and you may not use it a whole lot at first if you're a newer customer. But as you and other members of your team start using more of Sales Fusion and getting more and more campaigns out, this is going to be a great area for you to be able to look at and see if you have campaigns going out on the same day or if you need to space them out a little bit more. It's also a quick way to see some quick statistics. You can see here, here's one that went out to 327 people. You can see this one went out to 2 people. This one went out to, didn't go out to anybody. That's an event. You can see this one's going to 366, and so on. If I wanted to, I could also click on these particular campaigns and be able to see who opened them, who clicked on them, who hard bounced, how many got delivered, and more information. That's all we're going to be talking about in this particular class. I do want to also point out that under the toolbox, we have our Learning Management Center. If you've never been there before, I would highly recommend it, as it does have our recorded videos, it has some integration manuals, it also has some best practices and tips and tricks. If you, again, have not been there before, you will need to register and create your own username and password to be able to log in with. We also have our Help tab here, and this is our online manual. If you're a new customer, or even if you're an existing customer, I would recommend going through these quick starts. It walks you through how to build a segmentation. Step 1, click here. Step 2, click there. Step 3, Step 4, all the way down. How to create a distribution list. How to upload a file. These are all step-by-step processes that we've put in place to make it easy and allow you to give it a try. We have these for creating email content, drip campaigns, follow-up campaigns, triggers. This is all very, very good information. You can also run a search. So if you need to know how to import a list, type in import list, and it gives you all the places that it would be referenced. Importing data, step 1, step 2, step 3. Part 2 is offered on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, or you can watch the recorded version available on the Learning Management. In that class, we will be talking about the differences between emails, drips, and trigger campaigns, and we're also going to be discussing the statistics that you can expect to see. If you have any questions, please reach out to your client service representative, or you can reach out to support@salesfusion.com, and we'll be happy to assist you there as well. Thank you for attending. Have a great day.